All right. Thanks for joining us this week on the Niners News Update, Faithful.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us. Have some big news about a longtime Niner.
We do. All-time leading Niners rusher and third all-time leading rusher, Frank Gore, has finally announced his retirement. So, we definitely want to take a few moments to congratulate Frank Gore. Obviously, one of the best to ever do it. Yeah, I mean, he had an outstanding career. Obviously, like we said, third all-time, 16,000 yards, even. Finished, right on 16,000.
Really,
yards.
it's really even 16,000
yeah,
yards.
16,000 right on the dot.
That's badass.
I guess he didn't want to fuck with that. He's like,
that would help me. Like I don't have OCD,
Yeah.
but like I guess everyone has some mild form.
Yeah.
I like a nice even numbers. Like that would make me so happy if I was him
Yeah.
to be like, oh my god, an even 16,000. Like fuck that. I'm retiring.
Yeah, exactly. So Frank Gore, he has elected to sign a one-day contract with the team that drafted him, the San Francisco 49ers, best team in the NFL. Obviously a little bit biased there, but so he is signing and retiring a Niner. Unfortunately, it wasn't in an active capacity, which would have liked to have seen him play in.
Yeah.
But I was kind of hoping that he would have come back last year, late on our run to the Super Bowl, and at least gotten to play in a few of those games. But unfortunately, no such luck. But nevertheless, still an outstanding career. It was. Frank Gore has been quoted as saying that we're still trying to figure out when I'm going through my one-day contract to sign to do my retirement. I told Jed York I always want to be a Niner, so we're working on that right now. So Gore hasn't played since the 2020 season when he was with the New York Jets, and he tallied 742 total yards and 2 touchdowns. So, still at the age, I'm trying to think, like, how old was he when he played
I
with
think
the Jets?
he's like
It was
37
when he was
maybe?
playing with the Jets, yeah.
37.
So at age 37, still picking up over 700 yards and scoring a couple touchdowns, albeit on the awful Jets, which almost makes it more impressive because
I was gonna say, yeah, that kind of makes it even more impressive that he still did that well. Like,
yeah. So obviously the Jets were his 5th team. He was drafted by the Niners in the third round of the 2005 draft, and spent
that was the Alex Smith draft, wasn't it?
Yep, we got Alex in the first round and then him in the third. So that was a hell of a draft for us. So Frank spent the first 10 years of his career in San Francisco, rushing for at least 1,000 yards in 8 of those 10 seasons. So pretty much all but 2 of them, being named to 5 Pro Bowls. And then he's 38 years old now, but he's also played with the Colts, the Miami Dolphins, the Buffalo Bills, and the New York Jets. So obviously a hell of a career for Mr. Frank Gore. Obviously, there's a lot of debate on whether Frank Gore is a Hall of Famer. I think, hell yes, Frank Gore is definitely a Hall of Famer.
I would say
think that there's no doubt about it. I mean, you look at, there's 2 guys in front of him. It's Emmitt Smith and Walter Payton. Both of those guys are absolutely Hall of Famers. So
yeah, I don't know why that would even be a question. That's insane.
The only argument that some people have is that sometimes, like, it took, like, with the amount of time that, like, he played for, and like a lot of those.
That's also kind of impressive though that he played that long. And,
exactly, and I think what makes Frank Gore a Hall of Famer, I mean, not alone, but I don't know if you knew this, but coming out of Miami University in college, I actually saw this national championship game that he was playing in. He tore both of his ACLs, and that's why he fell. He was a first-round pick, but that's why he fell to the 3rd round, and we were able to get him because we took Alex Smith in the 1st round, and he wasn't. People didn't even know if he would ever suit up and actually play football, and obviously,
he had the career he did.
He did more than just play football. He had a Hall of Fame career. So
I'm definitely happy to see him do this one-day contract thing to retire as a Niner. That's always
absolutely that's
cool,
badass.
Cool to see that. He has he's always a Niner. That's where he started out. Even though he did eventually move on, you can tell he's always felt truly like he's a Niner.
Yeah, absolutely. He has, and even last year when he was like, I want to come back to the Niners, that's where he's always felt at home. So
Yeah.
obviously, I love Frank Gore, man. He's one of my all-time favorites. And
Yeah, he's
what's
badass.
what's next for Frank the Tank? What's next for the Inconvenient Truth? So I mean, he's made some announcements. Obviously, he's set to make his professional boxing debut on May 14th in Jackson, Mississippi, on Game Bread Promotions card.
Wait, didn't this already happen? Why do I feel like
it did happen to a
Yeah.
point? So we're getting to that. So yeah,
And didn't he get his ass like beat pretty bad, or am I
it,
thinking of a different fight?
it wasn't. He lost on split. Well, yeah. So anyway, what ended up happening was he fought in a previous fight to NBA player Deron Williams in an exhibition fight, and he lost in a split decision. But yeah, it didn't look very good. He didn't account very well.
All right.
But
So
this is going to be.
I do remember this then.
Yeah, so he is going to have another fight. Now this fight is going to take place on May 14th, which ironically is Frank Gore's 39th birthday. So hopefully Frank can kick some ass for his birthday. His opponent has yet to be announced, but it is going to be streamed on Fight TV, or FITE. So tune in and watch it, everybody, if you get the chance to watch Frank hopefully go and account well for himself.
Do better this time.
Win. Even if he doesn't win, at least have a good accounting for yourself, Frank. Go out there and look good. And he's also been reported there's been mutual interest between him and Jed York of him potentially joining the Niners front office in a potential scouting role. So obviously big things happening for Frank. So congratulations, you deserve it, Frank. Enjoy retirement, buddy. Or boxing. Doesn't really sound like he's just retiring.
Yeah, you would think after being a running back in the NFL for that long, maybe give your body a little break, but nah, apparently not.
It's like I'm good, man. I'm good. Frank Gore seems like just one of those guys that's like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. It just seems like one of those kinds of guys. And I was like, all right. That's why he ran for, like, what's 16,000? That's like a mile, isn't it? Or like, that's a couple miles.
A mile is 5,000 feet, so yeah, it'd be about a mile.
He's run for some miles in the NFL.
It's almost a mile basically, because it's 3 feet to a yard. So.
Attaboy. Good for you, Frank. And other notable Niners news. This guy's back in the news. Our former first-round draft pick, Reuben Foster. You might recognize that name because he had a brief cup of coffee on the Redskins at one point. He was signed, but former linebacker Reuben Foster, who can't get out of his own way, has either been arrested and suspended or injured since 2018 and hasn't played a snap since 2018. But he's got a visit this week with the Dolphins. He visited the Dolphins on Friday. He's yet to be signed, but definitely the first step in him making a comeback. So we'll have to see if he can catch on. Obviously, I remember when Jay Gruden brought him into Washington, and he got injured right away in the first practice, and just really didn't do anything. But I mean, he was a guy that through his first 2 seasons played in 16 games and showed some promise. But obviously, his off-the-field issues, which he later got acquitted of, acquitted or maybe he paid somebody off. Who knows? We're not to say, but. Yeah, he got those charges dismissed and seemed like he was going to make a comeback, and didn't happen. So, interestingly enough, obviously the Dolphins are coached by Mike McDaniel, who's the former Niners assistant. So, Mike McDaniel giving former Niner player an opportunity there. So
that's probably part of it, I would imagine.
Probably.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Knows him personally, and maybe he's doing better in life now.
He's giving him the old. I'm going to call it what we call the Tebow treatment. Just bringing him in, just brushing elbows with him. It's like bringing in an old friend. And speaking of old Niners potentially trying to get their way back into the NFL, we wouldn't be doing our due diligence if we didn't mention this man potentially trying to make his return to the NFL. It was a week from Saturday that he threw at the University of Michigan's spring game. Colin Kaepernick was throwing in front of NFL scouts. Obviously, this is his second designated workout now that he's thrown in front of NFL scouts. And obviously, the notable correlation here is that Michigan is coached by his former head coach in San Francisco, Jim Harbaugh. So obviously Harbaugh extending the invitation to come. I don't know if you saw the picture. We'll put it up on the screen of Harbaugh and Kaepernick holding the Michigan jersey. Did you see that? Obviously,
I'm not sure if I
Kaepernick
did,
never.
actually.
Yeah, Kaepernick. We'll put it on the screen.
I saw the footage of him throwing. I remember
Yeah,
I saw the
yeah.
video, but I don't know if I saw that picture.
He looked pretty good. Threw to some Michigan
Yeah.
receivers. He looked pretty good. When asked, yeah. So he threw for about 15 minutes, and the workout was conducted when he uncorked a deep pass, and then embraced Harbaugh, and then after the workout, he made his case to NFL ready or NFL quarterback needy teams, and said that, and I quote, "I can help make you a better team. I can help you win games." Kaepernick told Jenna Troutman when asked what his message to prospective clubs was. "I know right now the situation likely won't allow me to come in and step right into a starting role. I know I'll be able to work my way into that, though, and show that very quickly." So definitely a little bit of a change of mentality where he was like, I'm only going to accept a starting role. Now
Yeah.
he's understanding that, hey, I haven't played football in 6 years. Maybe I wouldn't come in as an immediate starter if somebody brought me in. Which
Which is
if
good.
he's going to come in,
for him to realize that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's fair. I don't think that after 6 years you can expect to give this guy the keys to the kingdom. Now, if he earns it, absolutely. And he can
Right.
be a starting quarterback. I believe that 100%. Can he still? I don't know. But, that remains to be seen.
That remains to be seen. Yeah,
That remains to be
exactly.
seen. But, I mean, I personally saw the extravaganza that Colin Kaepernick, he set the league on fire. And, I mean, obviously he hasn't played since the 2016 season when he started to protest the social injustice and police brutality by kneeling during the anthem. And he's been unsigned since. Let's see here.
Yeah, him kneeling really pissed off a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people, there's people that liked it and people that didn't, but it seemed just a little too why was it so controversial? Like, Jesus, man. People got so worked up about it.
Yeah, I really didn't ever see what the big deal about. I mean, I guess teams will say that it's a distraction, but not really. I mean, I don't think.
Yeah.
What I saw.
Just it's a small thing, and a lot of it was misunderstood because people were like, oh, it's disrespecting the military. It's like, well, dude, it has nothing to do with that. But it got so blown up, and the fact that he can't play, no team wants to allow him to even try to play because of that is definitely not fair. So.
Yeah.
Hopefully he gets a shot somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting. I'd like to at least, like I said, I mean, every team has a 90-man off-season roster. And, you can sign these guys for, he hasn't played in 6 years. You can sign him to the most minimal contract. You could give him, $950,000 to bring him in as a camp arm and at least see what he's got. I just don't think a lot of the teams want the connotation of being the first. A lot of teams don't want to be the first for the wrong reasons, if it's depending on what it's the first to do. I think a team's real concerned about being the first to bring him in. A lot of teams I think are interested in it, but I just don't think they know how to approach it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's somewhat hypocritical for the way he was treated by the NFL, and then the teams that may be interested, they might be nervous because they're like, well, it's not just up to them. They are part of the NFL, and they have to deal with the commissioner and all of that. So,
well, the NFL
probably
has come
nervous.
Out, they've apologized to him openly and said that they were wrong. But obviously, that's
right. I know they've said that, but
far too little. Yeah, exactly. Whether you actually.
It's one of those things. Like, how genuine was that? It's like, they were doing that because they had to, really. But does he have a job at this point? No. Maybe he's just really not that great. But the videos I have seen of him throwing, he looks like he could at least be a backup. At very least.
I mean, we'll just just in closing here. So I mean, he's 34 now, but he hasn't taken football punishment in 6 years. So obviously that's been, and he's kept himself in good shape, as we've discussed. In his NFL career, he completed just a hair under 60% of his passes, threw 72 touchdowns to 30 interceptions, and let's see. And then when he was asked in the same interview if he could still compete at an NFL level. Kaepernick was, he was very positive that he could. He said, absolutely, we can still get out there and sling it. Really getting out here today for the exhibition was to be able to show that I could do that. It's one of the questions that my agent kept getting was, well, it's been 5 years. Can he still play? So we wanted to make sure that we come out and show everyone I could still play, still throw it, and really looking forward for an opportunity for the door to open, to just have it be a pathway to be able to get back in there and get a starting job and lead them to a championship. So he's definitely, on this championship thing.
Yeah, you got some lofty goals there, buddy. But I appreciate
Yeah.
the drive,
Yeah.
though. But
That's what he says is the main goal for wanting to get back to the NFL, is because he wants to win the Super Bowl. And I mean, he got really close. I mean, he was within one overthrow in the end zone on a fade.
That's probably why he's so he's probably like, I need redemption, man.
Yeah, I mean, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see whether it happens. I think that he's going to have to work his way back as a backup if a team did give him a chance, but sounds like he's ready to do that now, so we'll see if he gets that opportunity. And then just in other less pressing news, just a couple of roster moves. The Niners hosted a former Colt edge rusher, Kamiko Ture, who could add potential defensive line depth. He was hosted earlier this week, but left without a contract. So remains to see if he ends up getting signed. The Niners did end up making a couple of signings, though, this week. We brought in a couple of new wide receivers. I don't know if you heard about this, but we brought in 2 wide receivers this week. And we re-signed another defensive lineman. We re-signed Maurice Hurst, who we got from the Raiders, last season. So he was re-signed. He was hurt for a big portion of last year, but bringing him back in. And also, the 2 receivers we brought in are Malik Turner and Marcus Johnson.
Where are they from?
So Malik Turner recently played with the Dallas Cowboys. Last year, he played in 14 games and caught 12 passes for 149 yards and a career-high 3 touchdowns. So 3 touchdowns on 12 catches, that's pretty good production. He's catching touchdowns on 25% of his targets there. Or
didn't get
25%.
utilized a whole lot, but I mean that
No.
might be because they didn't have a need for him. So
yeah, I mean, obviously, as you know, the Cowboys had Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, and C.D. Lamb, and Cedric Wilson. So he was at best their 4th receiver. So I'm not surprised he wasn't getting a lot of looks. I know a lot of that work that he got was in the 56-point blowout against, unfortunately, you guys, was when he got a lot of that work. But yeah, moving on from that shit. But the other one was so he's a big guy. So he's more of both of these guys are over 6 feet. So pretty good sized receivers. Now Marcus Johnson, he's more of a speed guy. He ran a 4.340 back in 2016 at the Combine, and he comes over from trying to remember what team he was with last. It was I want to say it was was it the Titans? Yeah, it was the Titans. I thought it was the Titans. I should have just gone with my first thought. But yeah, last year he played in 7 games with the Titans, and he caught 9 passes for 160 yards, good for a 17.8 yard per catch average. So definitely a good. And then the year before that, he caught 14 passes, good for 255 yards, good for an 18.2 yard per catch average with the Colts. So what that tells me is he's a deep threat. And he's probably a move that's brought in with the expectation of Trey being the starter and us probably going to be throwing the ball down the field further. So he's also notable for being a kick return guy, as last year he had what was it? It was 30. I don't know where I was getting that. No, he had 9 kick returns for 179 yards last year with Tennessee. So a guy that has some versatility that could also play special teams as a returner. Although we brought in Ray McLeod, so I don't think that he'll be the return guy. I think Ray is going to be handling our kickoff and punting return duties. But a couple of moves to bolster the depth chart. And obviously, as we discussed, I think it was last week, we lost Richie James. So one of those guys probably going to help fill that role. And, we could still draft a receiver. That's something that's been talked about as well. We have the 61st pick in the draft. It's being talked. I think at this point, the foregone conclusion is the Niners are either going to take a corner, a receiver, or potentially an edge rusher. Obviously, picking at 61, a lot of the elite players are going to be gone at that point. But we're still 2 weeks from the draft. Obviously, we covered some of the players that the Commanders might target, but next week on the Niners News Update, we'll cover some of the potential players that the Niners might target at 61. But that does it for all the Niner-related news this week. Like and subscribe if you're not already, and join us next week.
Join us next week. Thanks, everyone.
And that's going to do it this week for the Extra Point Show. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you're not already, make sure that you like and subscribe and follow us on all of the social media platforms. And check out our other video clips, like the Niners News Update.
And the Commanders Countdown.
That's right. See you next week, everybody.